Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So recently today, the new 16-inch MacBook Pro was just announced with all the specs and configurations that it comes with and the price tag more importantly. And today I just wanted to go over everything that it has to offer if you're looking to upgrade. Now, and I'm just wanting to state this in the beginning of the video. I am a Windows user. I do not really like using Macs, not to say that they're bad, they're just not for me. So just keep that in mind. This is more from a PC user's perspective. So first off, the $2,400 base model, or 2,399, sorry, has a 2.6 gigahertz, 6-core, 9th gen Intel i7 processor, which is really good and will get the job done no matter what, with 16 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM, an AMD Radeon Pro with 4 gigabytes of GDDR6 memory, and a 512 PCIe based onboard SSD. So you have basically the SSD is faster than a hard drive. So that's just like a summarization. You get less storage on an SSD, but you can transfer things a lot faster onto the SSD. So that might be really good for people that want to get stuff done really quickly, sending all those big files over. It's way faster on an SSD than it is on a hard drive, which is really nice that they're doing that. And 16 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM, you can never go wrong. And basically everything on this laptop, from like just the base model, from the specs point of view, are really good. And I'm glad to see that they're good, because I'd hope they would be good with that high of a price tag. Now, it isn't just all about the specs. You got to keep in mind with like Apple products in general, you're paying also for the ecosystem. So the MacBook Pro's specs are good, but they don't justify the $2,400 price tag, in my opinion. You guys might think otherwise, but in my opinion, it doesn't really justify the price tag just for the specs alone. But when you combine the great screen, good battery life, best speakers, good microphone, and more importantly, just how it adapts and works with the Apple ecosystem, I think that gives it a better reasoning to why the pricing is so high for specs like this. And you might find like a desktop computer for like half the price of this MacBook Pro, but because it's in the Apple ecosystem, that's why it's priced higher. You got to just keep that in mind with any Apple product, basically, that's how they do it. And not to say that this is bad, this is just their way of selling their products and getting you into the Apple ecosystem. Now, this has its downsides because some people may be like, well, what if I just want to try it out? You can always return the laptop if you don't like it, so that's always a benefit. But if you buy it online, then you're kind of like left unsure whether or not you want to make the switch from Windows to Mac. And some people might prefer Macs overall. It's just personal preference at this point. Anyways, the next base model they have is $2,799 with, instead of a 6-core, it's an 8-core 9th gen Intel i9 processor. It's also an i9 instead of an i7 on the other one, so you have better speeds in general. The 16 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM stays the same, and so does the AMD Radeon Pro is actually 5,500M instead of 5,300M. Now, I'm just going off based off numbers, but obviously this would be better because it's a higher number. That sounds like a dumb thing to say, but I do not know the biggest differences between the two. There might not be a huge substantial difference between these two AMD Radeon Pros, but that's just what I think. And the biggest upgrade, I think, from these two models is the fact that you get 1 terabyte of SSD instead of 512 like on the base model of the other MacBook Pro. Now, do you need all that storage? In my opinion, 1 terabyte is always the way to go. But the fact that you have to pay more to get a terabyte, I guess because it's an SSD, they can kind of justify it because SSDs are great. But 512, I guess for normal users wouldn't be bad. But since they're trying to target audiences that would want a lot of storage, they're going to have to pay more for that. Now, this isn't saying that's a bad thing. It's just that when they started showing what you can get with a laptop, they showed the maxed out version in basically in the commercials that I saw. It was all talking about the maxed out version of this laptop, which goes for around $6,000. So if you want to max it out, you're going to have to spend a hefty $6,000 on a laptop. And is it worth it? To each their own, but I'm going to say no. It's not worth spending $6,000 on a laptop. If you do, it's either really invested into photo editing or video editing. You have to render 4K videos at 60 FPS, like 6 at a time or something crazy like that. Then hey, go power user, you do you. But if you're just a normal user, the $6,000 MacBook Pro maxed out isn't really worth it for like the normal user. Hence the word Pro in this models. That's just something to keep in mind. So in all the models, it'll have a 16-inch Retina display, so it has a really good display. We can talk about how like 500 nits, 226 ppi, all that stuff, True Tone technology, and all that. It's good basically, and it only weighs 4.3 pounds, which is also nice. You have a 100 watt-hour battery rated to 11 hours of wireless web, USB-C charger, so it's 96 watt, which is great. And they have 6 speaker stereo system with Dolby Atmos. That's always nice. And studio quality 3 microphone array, Intel UHD graphics 630, 4 times Thunderbolt 3 ports, a headphone jack, a backlit Magic keyboard with touch bar and touch ID, Force Touch with the trackpad, good Wi-Fi, and finally Bluetooth 5.0. Yeah, that was a lot of things to say, but in the end of the day, guess what? They have an escape key on the MacBook Pro. Finally. They finally have an escape key. Woo! And the touch bar got thinner, which is nice because I thought it was a little bit too big, so that's also good. And they got rid of the butterfly switch keyboard. Thank you. Apple, listen, boys. After 3 years of people having problems with their keyboards on their MacBooks, this shouldn't happen anymore because they switched to scissor switches. Now, what this means, if you guys don't know, on the old MacBook Pros or MacBooks in general, they used Apple's butterfly switch keyboards, which got dust in the keys, and since they were so flat, it would delay or even make the one key stop working just with a small piece of dirt. Because of how flat they were, you couldn't even get the dirt out of it, which became a big problem with like long-term usage for the MacBooks. And a lot of people were having problems. They even started fixing the MacBook keyboards for free. But at the end of the day, they're like, we don't want to have to deal with this anymore. And they finally learned, switch the keyboard, no more butterfly switches. Round of applause for Apple for listening. So I'm glad they did that. And this is what it's configurable up to. So this is like the max you can get. You can get up to 64 gigabytes of RAM. Like I said, if you're a crazy person who needs all that RAM, then go for it. Up to 8 terabytes of storage, of SSD storage, keep that in mind. That's crazy. That's a lot of storage. And that's super nice for, like, if you're a pro user, basically, like the name entails. And an AMD Radeon Pro 5500M with 8 gigabytes of GDDR6 memory. So you get more memory, means faster speeds. Basically, if you don't understand, like, tech lingo, if you're just, like, looking for, like, a rundown version, most of the time, I'm not going to say all the time because that's not true, but most of the time, the higher the number means the faster. Especially if the price is more, then you know either A, it's faster, or B, they're just trying to steal your money. So you gotta have to figure out which one. Do you really need that extra boost of speed? Are you gonna need it for like hardcore usage, or are you just fine with the base model? Now, most people actually will probably be fine with the base model. I don't think they'll need to spend all that money on like the hardcore maxed out version, unless, like I said, like I'm repeating myself, but I just want to reiterate that the pro users should spend more, because I think the base model is a good laptop, because it is a good laptop, but you're gonna have to spend more to get more usage out of it. For example, if you're making music or you're doing video recording, video editing, photo editing, you might want to go with the 2799 base model, or even like just upgrade it a little bit more to get more storage or like a faster processor, more RAM, etc., etc. So it's just all personal preference at this point. Do you even like Mac? And if you're thinking about switching to a Mac, then I think this is the best model to go for, just to try it out. You know, the best model in my opinion is the 2799 base model, mainly because it has 9th gen i9 processor and it has 1 terabyte of storage than 512. And you're like, well, that might not be like really worth it. But in the end of the day, faster processor is always good, and it gets things done faster. And you might see some like slowdowns on the i7, and you're like, why is it slowing down? Then it's just better to go for the i9. Anyways, that's it for me. I hope you guys did enjoy this like rundown of the MacBook Pro and if it's worth it or not. Let me know if you guys think you should get it in the comments below, what you think. And if you enjoyed the video, it would mean a lot to me if you could like and subscribe for more content like this in the future. Anyways, that's it for me. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.